Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Hopefully everybody can see and hear me okay, and I'm not having any audio issues. I did have a little bit of an audio issue, just for about 30 seconds before I put the little timer up, but thanks for joining me again. We're here on a Tuesday live stream, and I've been thinking about maybe moving back to Sundays. Uh, it conflicts a little bit with my photo club that I do with David Crooks, but time to time, because sometimes he has the photo walks on Sundays. So that's really why I stopped doing the uh, the streams on Sundays, because I'd rather go out and shoot, right? Which brings me to another thought I had. It's kind of weird, but I've been watching a lot of I don't know. I binged Karate Kid season 4 the other day, so that's a day gone. And then I watched some reaction videos, and then one thing leads to another, and I'm watching a bunch of kung fu flicks, right? I've always been kind of a kung fu flick nut anyway, but I haven't watched any in a long time, and then Karate Kid came on. I just it kind of rekindled that passion for kung fu flicks, right? But it occurred to me, I was like, something that Joe Edelman says in all his lives, because Joe Edelman live streams every Wednesday, and he has a great live stream. Particularly if you're into portrait photography, he can really help you a lot, and he has a lot of great information. But he always says, go out and practice, and everybody says that, right? Peter and Robin, Jimmy, Maddie. Any photography channel you watch, they're going to tell you need to go out and practice. And it occurred to me that I'll never, 'cause when I was younger, right, I really wanted to get into karate and kung fu when I had sort of when I was in much better shape. And I took a few lessons, but just over the summer. But I didn't practice, right? The katas and with some of the weapons we were playing with. And I never got very good at karate, right? Never got a belt, nothing, right? Just didn't take it very seriously. But I did go all summer, a couple of times a week, to take classes. But without practicing, you're never going to get any good. And the same kind of goes for photography, right? You can watch YouTube videos all day long for days, right? But if you never take your camera out and practice, you're never going to get any good at it. And so that's why I'm really glad that I joined a photo club with David Crooks. He reached out to me. It's the best thing ever happened to me, really, photography-wise. Because it gets me out there almost every week shooting something, right? Even if I don't have a good day, which is most times, I still learn a little bit about my photography every time I go out. Like, how am I seeing this scene? Why did I take this picture? Why does it suck, right? And even yesterday, we had a lot of snow. That's kind of the big news here locally in my areas. We had about 10 inches of snow where I am. I mean, it was maybe, if not a foot. I mean, it was pretty deep, and I was stuck in the house. But I did manage to go out and walk a few blocks around my neighborhood. And if you go to my Flickr page or Instagram, I posted some of the pics from that photo walk. I was either using the EM1 Mark III if they're like pictures around my house, but if they're on the streets and things, I use my TG5, which takes terrific pictures, really. And I looked at a lot of the photos, and I took about 80 photos just this morning, and only 2 or 3 were halfway decent, and even then they weren't that great. But I tried. I was like, let me try and compose some scenes to make it work, so something I can post and not be too embarrassed. And I still failed miserably, you know, but it doesn't matter because I feel good that I got out there and I shot, you know, and practiced so I can analyze why am I not seeing this scene the way um, that I had in my head. I don't know how to explain this, but you know, I'm looking at the scene and I'm like, there's a shot here, but how come I can't frame or compose it or make it look right? The way I'm feeling, you know, that scene. So I'm going to go back and continue to analyze my photos that I've took over yesterday and today and try and figure that out. Because I tried. I don't know if I can show you a couple. Are they still up here? Yeah. Well, that doesn't help. How about this window? Okay. Like here's one. This is directly in front of, like, this is my mailbox. This is directly in front of my house. And this is the black and white version. Let me see. What does color look like? This is, oh, this is the JPEG. I was shooting black and white JPEGs. So there's the straight out of camera JPEG basically. And here I try to get a little bit lower to the ground so I can get more of the street into the scene because they finally plowed it. Now I can get out and the sun has come out. So now it's all melted and it's actually probably safe to drive. So I need to get out. I got so much to do. I don't know. I feel like I failed on this shot. And of course you can see the film strip down here. This is pointing the other direction. It's not much better. Oh, here's a color JPEG. The sky was just beautiful. It had this beautiful purple and orange on this side because it was a little bit before sunrise. And of course it's all crooked, but I don't know. I'm like, it was so pretty out and I just didn't get anything. So here I tried to do a little frame within a frame, right? And this is the snow built up on my tree, some of the branches hanging down. I tried to frame the telephone poles and have some juxtaposition, right? Like, you know, nature and man-made, you know, some kind of juxtaposition of these power lines against this tree. And the beautiful sky. And again, just this picture is just awful. Let me close this side. Let me see what else is here. This is just from this morning. So here I tried to go for textures or patterns, repeating patterns. And oh, that brings me to another thing I want to talk about. Here I tried to do frame within a frame because the snow is so heavy and sticky, you know, sticking to all the branches. And it just, all these branches, like this is a major one, broke off my tree into the front yard. Luckily, it didn't hit any power lines or anything going to my house, but total fail. Here I tried to have a little leading line off to the left, up to my house. Yeah, just terrible. This was a truck, snow truck that went by, or plow. I had a guy come out and shovel my driveway just where my tire tracks are because I didn't want to spend too much money. I said, just make 2 tracks to get my car out. That's all I care about. So finally, I cleaned the car off myself, but I couldn't open the doors this morning. They were frozen shut. So I'm going to wait till it gets a little warmer. But anywho, I did get one shot that I liked. Where is it? Must be in the other. Must be from yesterday when it was near sunset. Here's a picture of a fly that I took using the TG5 with the macro ability. It did okay. You can see some fine details in there. But it was like, you know, the day before it was like 65 degrees, right? So that's when the bugs come out. I don't care what time of year it is. If we have a warm day, the bugs come out. Where's did I put a pic on it? Let me see. No. Yeah, here I took 500 images, right? 548 images. And they're all crap. Just total crap. Some of Ellie. I think, oh, you know why? Because there's so many, is because I was using Pro Capture, trying to get her. But she didn't like the snow that much. She was actually, she just played for a few minutes and then went right back in the house. She was not into the snow. Yeah, these are some birds on the bird feeder. Now let me show you like how bad my house is. Look at these houses. They still have plenty of snow all around, right? On the front steps, on the windows, everywhere, right? And then my house, everything's melted. Shows you how badly my house is insulated. So I'm heating up the whole neighborhood with my house. There's no snow hardly. It's all melted all around my house. You can see it running down the front bricks and everything. My steps are all melted. It's kind of funny compared to my neighbors right across the street. They're still like in ice, right? But okay, so that's what I mean. It's important to get out and practice, and that's what I tried to do yesterday. And I tried to take some nice pictures, but it just I was struggling. So that's going to be one of my New Year's resolutions, is really to get out and practice as much as, I mean, I thought I practiced a lot already, but not enough apparently. So what I did is I watched Peter Forsgaard's 52 challenges, right? He has a different challenge every week. So I joined his Facebook group and everything, and I printed out the 52 challenges. So go to Peter Forsgaard's channel and you'll see a video on his 52-week challenge for 2022. And he has a different subject. Like this week's subject is details in my surroundings. And it gets me thinking, you know, what would be interesting detail that's around me? You know, maybe it doesn't have to be at my house or in my yard. Maybe when I go out, like I got to go get an oil change today, right? You know, what details can I find or see or look for that would be kind of interesting and make a shot? So I'll be taking pictures the next few days, practicing, just looking for details around me. And then next week he has wide angle. That I won't struggle with as much because I you know, professionally I do all wide angle shots, right, for real estate and stuff. So I'm pretty comfortable with a wide angle lens. And I've gotten a lot of wide angle shots that I really like. So I don't think I'll have a problem with that one. And then animals, and then darkness and weather and black and white, and then blue. I mean, he has 52 weeks worth of stuff, right? So I encourage you guys to participate in that yourself. You know, he's done all the work for you, really. All you have to do is go out and take the picture. But coming up with all these ideas, it's not that easy. Coming up with 52 ideas, things I would have never thought about. Like even this week's, I would have never thought about details around me. it's the print is so small I can hardly read it. Natural light portrait, motion blur. You know, lots of interesting things here that I can try and practice for a week, right? And try to get at least one good shot. So that's going to be my New Year's resolution, is really to try and go out and have these little mini projects that Peter set up for everybody. But you know, for myself, maybe I'll do separate projects. Like if I happen to get like the wide angle competition, I'll probably get done in a day or two, right? But what can I do the rest of that week to take pictures of and challenge myself? Maybe, I don't know. So we'll see. But yeah, so definitely do that. Let's see. Let me check in who's here. Hi, Christine and Errol and Annette. Rick, good to see you. Randy, always good to see you. And David Tellett, David Crooks, awesome. And Peter, Rob's here. Good to see you. David has no internet. Wow. Yeah, the big story locally, like I said, has been the snow here. We haven't had a significant snow. Ulf is here, Music is here, Marco's here, John Yutze. Good to see everybody. We haven't had a significant snow here in 2 or 3 years. And generally speaking, we don't get major snows very often, like the one yesterday. Like a foot of snow is major for us, right? I know in some places, you know, you get that every other day, but for us, it's kind of a big deal. You know, we'll get the 2 or 3 inch, you know, snow, maybe 5 or 6 inches time to time, but not very often. Last winter, I think it only snowed once, and it was just dusting, you know. So the trucks and the sand snow and all of these people, I think for the last 2 or 3 years, they were getting paid to just sit in their trucks and not have to plow anything, just because there was a hint of maybe snow coming the next day. And I saw a lot of reports on the news about all these trucks not plowing. They're just sitting there. You know, now they were plowing this morning, but you know, and I don't know. I just feel like we got complacent, and we were literally, there's still like a 30-some mile backup on the major highway not far from me, 95 North, I believe. Even the governor is stuck in, or somebody, the mayor or somebody is stuck in that for 15 hours. They've been stuck on the highway, not able to get off. I just can't imagine. A lot of people ran out of gas, and so they don't have any heat, and it's not getting any warmer. Yeah, David says, oh, hey, Larry. Yeah, I'm in Maryland, but the DC metro area. Oh, Rob shoots photos, part of the Peter thing. Good. So I'll try and post something this week into his Facebook group. If it's any good, maybe he'll include it in his stream when I think he's going to stream the best photos once a month or something, right? But yeah, we're just not used to this kind of snow. I remember 5 or 6 years ago, we had a major snowstorm. I mean, it's like 3 or 4 feet of snow. That was crazy. But on the plus side, you know, I just stayed home for 3 or 4 days. You know, I didn't have to leave, and I was already stocked up. There was like some warning it was coming, so I was fine. Of course, I don't have, you know, a whole family to take care of on top of that, right? I can't imagine people that you know, have families and things that they have to stock up for. if you have to, you know, dig in for 3 or 4 days, that would be kind of rough. But anyhow, so yeah, so photography wise, that's the thing, is really, you know, just get out and practice as much as you can, and just take bad pictures if you have to, like I do every day, it seems like. I couldn't even get good pictures of Ellie And it's not really the camera's fault. I mean, she's sitting there. I just have to take a picture. And I just couldn't. I took one, where did it go? I even took one Polaroid of her, and I learned something about I use an SX70 Polaroid, beautiful camera. Man, but it's like $2 a print for these. Where's my camera? I love this. This next to my Hasselblad, this is like one of the most beautiful cameras ever made. It's the SX70. It's a little creaky, but it's what I learned about this is when you push the button, there's a slight delay before it actually takes the picture. Because Ellie was looking the other way. It's hard to, you can't see it on the stream here. She was looking this way, and when I pushed the button, she turned her head. And that's when I got motion blur in the shot, because there seems to be some delay. So I have to be very conscious of that there's about a half a second delay between when I push the button and it actually takes the picture, it seems. I have another Polaroid. Maybe you guys saw that blog. That it's a Polaroid 600, I think. Well, it uses the 600 film. That's a slightly more economical at like $1.50 a shot. But yeah. Oh, why is my seat so low? There you go. That feels better. So I might do that. I was looking at the there's a Fuji film Instax, right, called a Neo, coming out next month, where it takes it's a digital camera, like 5 or 8 megapixel digital camera, but if you push the lever, it'll print out on the Fujifilm Instax the image that it has in memory. So I'm debating if that's a thing or not, you know, because it's not a total film process. But it is printing onto Fuji Instax film, so I'm a little leery of using it because it's not a real film camera. It's basically a digital camera with a Fuji Instax printer. But the convenience of taking pictures and not having to print them every time is kind of nice. And then being able to put them on the computer later. Because, you know, when you print the Instax things out, usually you give them out, right, to whoever's there or wants them. I probably wouldn't keep too many Instax pictures myself unless, of course, I don't know. I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't keep too many. I'd have to take 2 pictures, like one for them, one for me. That way we each get one. Oh, David, I didn't know you had an Instax wide, but you dropped it. That's terrible. I mean, it's $100 camera, but still, that's now when you say no great loss, do you mean you didn't really use it anyway, or? Ooh, Luminar Neo deleted your folder. Wow, that's rough, Randy. Oh. Have I ever tried a selfie printer? I do have one of the little Canon Ivy printers that connects to my cell phone, so I can use my cell phone to take pictures and just print whatever onto the printer. So that's what's kind of holding me back from buying these digital film combo hybrid cameras. That's what's holding me back a little bit, because I already have an Ivy printer. I mean, the colors are terrible, but and they're so small. That's the other thing, is they're so small. Let me show you one. So I have these. I even bought photo albums for it, but I have all these little tiny pictures. They're 2x3, I guess, of photos that I took that I just wanted to have prints of, and I mean, it was kind of fun, but I didn't, you know, I've only filled up about half this book, and you know, I got this, and then this book here, because I can do these for about 30 cents a print, right? And this is more family stuff that I took. My, you know, Ellie and some, you know, family type pictures. But these are things I take while I'm there and I give them away. But I have this little Ivy printer. Yeah, it's Canon Ivy. So, you know, I can go into my phone and print anything that's on my phone or in my Google Photos album. And it's okay. It's not the same as holding a camera and having it come right out right there. So I'm debating between like a regular Instax, the small ones, or the Instax Square, which is a little bigger print, but I don't know, just for fun, you know, nothing serious. I don't know. I've tried so many things, you know, so many things in photography, and I've never settled on anything. Olympus has been the only thing I've actually settled on and used rigorously. I did have Nikon for about, I was a Nikon shooter for maybe 3 years, right? And but shortly after I got into Olympus, that thing just was gone, and I've been shooting Olympus now, I think 6 years. This will be 7 years later in 2022, like in September or August. It'll be 7 years with it. We're shooting primarily Olympus cameras. But you know, I have a Fujifilm XT-30. I have a Canon M50. I got a Lumix S5. I got crap. I got a Sony NEX, and you know, just a bunch of cameras, a couple of Panasonics, a GX85, all great cameras, but I still go back to using my Olympus gear. Anytime I want to reach for a camera and go somewhere, it's always the Olympus. I finally got that lens for that Fujifilm that I think I might start taking my Fujifilm out more. The 35mm f2. So I might be going out more with that. People are asking me to do some photo walks with it, so you know, why not, you know? Yeah, rotate them once a week. I was thinking about it, you know, just take a different camera out every week. Maybe use a different one for these 52 weeks. I can add that to my list of projects, like mini projects. This week I'm going to shoot with my XT-30, and I'm going to shoot, I don't know, whatever. But I definitely need to get out and practice. Lauren suggested I do more street photography. I'm still a little bit anxious about that, and particularly taking pictures of people. Architectural stuff I can do, right? Buildings and sidewalks and streets. But people straight on when they're looking at me, that's a little harder. But those are the most interesting, right? Oh, John says thanks for the Ted Vera Acros. Oh yeah, sure, John. I came up with some settings that matched very closely what the Fuji Acros simulation is. And Ted Vera, who has a YouTube channel, tweaked it a little bit to get, very inky black type looks to his images. So it's basically adjusting tone curve and crushing the blacks and midtones, right? The other thing I noticed, John, and I forgot to mention it in any of the correspondence we had, is that I noticed that, and he didn't mention it in his video, but I noticed in his settings that he was using a green filter on his Acros. So using a green filter on your Acros will make everything darker as well. That's not green, right? Because there's not too many green things in street photography, right? Normally green stuff you find in nature and wildlife type stuff, but street photography, there's a lot of reds and blues, right? But green not so much. And he was using a green filter. So maybe try adding that into the mix as well, and that'll crush the tones a little bit more. Shooting black and white, which is what Acros is. Oh, my NEX camera. Let me see if I can use the features of my chat software here. I just have the 16 to 50 kit lens for my NEX. I used to have the 35, the 55 to 200, and I had another prime. I can't remember. I used to have 3 other lenses besides that one kit lens, and I sold all of that a long time ago when I switched to Nikon. But that's all I have. So I said, if I'm going to keep the camera, I got to keep at least one lens. So I just kept the kit lens because it was 16 to 50. It's a pretty good range. The primes and the long tele zooms and the other lens I had just, they were good lenses, but I didn't think, I just didn't use the camera at all. So I said, if I'm going to use it, I'll just keep the kit lens. Still works. I don't know if the batteries are any good, man. That camera's like 10 years old now. That is why I have a lot of cams. I'll grab a camera and say an E5 and go see what is out. Yeah, I know it seems like an easy thing. Just let me just grab any random camera and go shoot, right? I don't know. I got to do that. And Rick says, an animal stares at its prey. That's why staring into a stranger's eyes will provoke a hostile reaction. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll look for that. And Ross says, I'm the same way with street photos. I'll shoot architectural, city birds in Pittsburgh. Only if the person is in the frame perfectly, I'll take a photo. Whew. Yeah, the cities are beautiful. I agree. I need to take some more color photos. I've been taking mostly black and white lately. But there's color is awesome too. Larry says he used the G12 for street. The camera's small size and articulating screen facilitated situations where I didn't want to attract attention. Yeah, I gotta learn some techniques because I have articulating screens. I got small cameras, of course. But I think it's more about the best shots I've seen, not the best, but the ones that I like, or what I'd like to be able to do is just go up and start talking to the person, right? And get to know them and ask them if I can take their picture. Then it'll be more than photography, right? There'll be a story there as well that I might be able to share or just remember, right? And go out and meet people. Because that's something that, man, I used to be the life about town. I'd go out and I'd meet a lot of people. But somehow I got into this, I turned into a hermit, and I just don't like to leave the house sometimes. It's because mainly because and I'm talking about when I used to go downtown DC all the time, and I stopped going downtown DC, and there's no place to go around here locally. There's a few places, I'm sure David Crooks knows, that are kind of life of the town type things, but I'm getting too old for that crap. I'm not going to go to a bar and drink and etc. Oh, the GF3. Yeah, that is a tiny little camera. And Errol says, I saw at B&H the EM1 Mark II for 200 more than the Mark. What? That doesn't make any sense. The Mark II right now I'm seeing for like $600 all day long or less. I haven't seen a Mark III for less than like 1,200. I mean, I haven't looked at used prices, but new 1,1300 at a minimum. Like double the price of a Mark II. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Yeah, 3 years on the street. Yeah, I hear that from most street photographers. They don't have any problems, you know. But when I was doing a photo shoot, for a professional job, and there were people around, man, I told you, those women ganged up on me. They were pissed. And that's what's kind of, sticks in my mind every time I go out. It's like I have that negative feeling. I wasn't even looking at them. The camera wasn't even pointed at them. It was kind of pointed at a different direction, but they were just pissed I had a camera nearby. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole different story. Street portraits versus street photography. Yeah, I like the street portraits. What's my impression of the XT-30? Initially, I already put it back in the cabinet, but initially I didn't like it because it can't. I bought it with that 18 to 55. I don't know, whatever the kit lens is. It's an f2.8 to f4 kit lens, and I didn't think it was particularly sharp. I didn't think that the film simulations were particularly that interesting. They didn't change the picture all that much, and I thought that all the dials on it were wasted, because if you're going to shoot an aperture priority, basically you're putting everything on auto ISO, auto shutter speed, and then all you do is turn the ring on the lens for the aperture. So I felt like all the dials on top were wasted. Let me grab it. Oh. So you have this dial, which you just set the shutter to S, right? Single shot. You have this dial, which is your shutter speed. You put that on A for auto if you're going to shoot aperture priority. And this lens here doesn't even have an aperture ring on it. So I would just be an aperture priority turning this one dial here and then using this dial for exposure comp. So there's, I don't know, I just prefer the button dial layout on the Olympus. But that said, I got this 35 millimeter lens, right? Last week, f2. This is a great lens. The images are so sharp, and the contrast and everything. I just love this lens. It's so much better than the 18 to 55 kit lens that I got. Mainly because it's smaller and lighter, right? Because that 18 to 55, man, that just felt bulky on this camera. Hence, that's why I got this grip. I thought it would help. But with this lens, I don't even need this grip on here. So actually, I'm going to take this off. because I don't plan to use this on a tripod or anything. It's just for walking around taking pictures. If I was going to use this on a tripod all the time, yeah, I would definitely leave this on here, because I like the full plate on the bottom that you get. And but yeah, like this, it's very compact. It's about the same size as my Pen F, just a hair taller because of the hump here, but for the most part it's the same size as my Pen F with a 17 or 25 millimeter prime. And now that I have this lens on it, and I'm just using the front dial for the aperture, it's not too different. I don't like the tiny front dial here in the front. I'd rather have it on top, like on the Olympus. But I like it. I like it now. And I like the images that I got out of the 35. Somehow they were just nicer than using the kit lens. And so I'm going to try some of the film simulations again and try and embrace what Fujifilm is all about, right? It's all about their film simulations and this X-Trans sensor and yada yada. So I'm going to try and embrace this camera and use it more with this lens and see if I can enjoy it. I've had this camera for 2 years. 2 years. I didn't take it out at all last year. Not once that I can recall. It's just sitting on the shelf. You know, technically, yeah, it takes better high ISO images, and it has a little more resolution because it's a 24 megapixel, or it's a 26 megapixel instead of 20, which is what I'm used to. You know, these are very small things, though. They're not that, you know, it's not a big deal. It's a little better at high ISO and stuff, but I'm going to try and enjoy the camera. Same thing with my Canon M50. If I might have to get a prime for that one too, because the kit lens that comes with it is okay. And I'm not one for getting tack sharp images. You know, I don't care about that, but somehow it just renders differently. I don't know how to put my finger on it. Oh, thank you, Maurice. I appreciate that. I mean, I don't think anybody will be unhappy with this camera if this is their first camera, right? But this is not my first camera, so there's, you know, you build muscle memory and you have certain expectations on features and settings that you're used to using. So going over to another camera like this was just very awkward, you know. And that's why I didn't really use it. It wasn't a camera. I just said, oh, there, let me take the Fuji out today. It was like, oh, you know, the dials and the buttons. I'm like, you know, you get that initial like resistance, you know, with the Olympus, it's the path of least resistance, right? Because I know the Olympus inside out. If I want to make a change in a setting, you know, it's like click, click, I'm there. With this one, I'm going to have to, you know, I just don't know. I have to dig in. Do I use the joystick? Do I use the Q button? You know, there's this little bit of resistance in terms of doing things quickly that if I take the camera out more, I'll get over it. But it's not a bad camera. It's just wasn't right for me. Oh, Ben is here from Narrowband Channel. Hey, Ben. Ben, if you go to his channel, he has a great review on the EM1X. I watched it this morning, and you know, the first half is like geared towards astrophotography, right? But the second half really is very interesting. He does a little bit of history lessons about Olympus and their progression of designs, and he talks about the ergonomics and you know, everything that you'd expect from a review, but from his point of view, right? Like he really liked the viewfinder on the M1X. I'm gonna have to look at an I don't remember the M1X viewfinder being particularly special, but the only time I've had an EM1X in my hands is when it was initially launched 2.5 years ago, right? At a launch event, and I haven't looked at one since. So next time I come up, then I'll have to look at yours. But yeah, go check out his video. It's really interesting. And there's a little paranormal moment in there too. Right at about 22 minutes into the video, it's a long video. About 22 minutes into the video, the door in his shed closes all by itself for no reason, you know? I don't know. Seems kind of paranormal to me. Maybe Randy can watch it and tell me. And the funny thing is, when the door slams shut, Ben doesn't even flinch, you know? It's like it didn't happen. He didn't notice it at all. And I'm like watching and I'm like, what the hell was that? And Ben is standing there. Oh yeah, this camera does this camera that slam. And you know, if you look through this, you get that. I'm like, Ben, how could you not notice the door slamming behind you? I don't get it. The Q button. That's funny. Yeah, Plato has the right idea. There's really no bad cameras, only poor photographers. And Andrew says, looking seriously at getting the Laowa 52.8 APO macro lens. Oh, interesting. I'm not familiar with that lens. Oh man, you reminded me. I got to review a T Artisan's lens. I totally forgot about that. I mean, I just got it last week. I got to review that lens. I got to take it on some photo walks first and then do a review on it. But honestly, I would just get the 60 macro from Olympus. The Laowa 50, I don't know anything about that lens. Let me look at it real quick. Where's my Laowa 50 mm? $400, 2x max, so it's double, right? But it's I'm looking at this thing. It's manual focus, I'm sure. Yeah, there's no, well, they're not showing it here. Well, there's electrical contacts. Maybe it is all autofocus. But it doesn't say autofocus anywhere. Let me just type in manual. No. Auto. Automatic aperture. It's got to be manual focus though. So they have all these pins on here because it's it has an automatic aperture. Interesting. I don't know, $400 you can get the 60 macro. I think that's a better way to go. Because then you can do focus, you know, because it doesn't have autofocus, you can't do the focus stacking, right? And if you're doing macro, that's a big deal. So that might be something you want to think about, is you're not going to be able to do automatic focus. You can always manually focus stack, right? But that's a pain in the ass. You know, with those 60 macro, you can do automated focus stacking. So that, I think that would be a key reason I wouldn't get this lens. Yeah, so the Laowa gives you 2-to-1 and is apochromatic. I don't know what that means, apochromatic. But I would be a little bit concerned about not having focus stacking, automated focus stacking in camera. And Titty Tao, it's been a while. Happy New Year. The touchscreen on my EM10 Mark II has developed a fault and has just started to work intermittently, either blacked out or out or on. I haven't had that problem. I have had the problem where I have to pull the screen out for it to show. But you know, I've dropped mine so many times. I don't know if that's a common problem or not. But I don't know if anybody. I haven't had this problem. So if anybody can give Titty Touter some feedback on their EM10, but I haven't heard of that one. Can you do focus stacking hand? No, you need to be on a tripod. Yeah, it's not going to work because I haven't tried it on EM1 Mark. EM1 Mark III might do it, but I would. My initial response is no. You can only do focus stacking when you're on a tripod. Oh, that's true. There's people that turn the lens while they're doing continuous shutter to get the focus stacking. You definitely have to be on a very strong tripod to do that because you don't want any movement in the camera at all. You don't want to change the focus plane, you know, not a tiny bit. Not the focus plane, but the composition. Yeah, I've done that before myself, actually, where I turned the lens while I was in continuous shutter, not because I wanted to focus stack, but because I wanted to get something in focus when I was doing a very close-up photography of like bugs and things, and I couldn't nail focus. So what I would do is I would start the focus back a little bit and then zoom in, not zoom in, but turn the focus back, front to back in continuous shutter. And then one of those images will be in focus most likely. But I can't imagine doing, I guess it would work for focus stacking in a sense if you're on a tripod. But I used to do it just like on bugs and insects. I would turn the focus ring while I was in continuous shutter to try to get at least one shot sharp. No news that I'm aware of. I've not heard anything. Oh, really? You can do 8 frames focus stack handheld. Maybe. I haven't tried it myself. And Jeff says APO lenses give less chromatic aberrations. Okay. And this is back to Fuji. I heard on YouTube channel that Fuji colors are milder and more natural. That's good for people. Wait, that channel was Ken Rockwell, known for shock war. Most of the time I look at Fuji, I feel like there's this green shift, slightly green shift in the images, depending on which, I guess, profile. But I haven't shot myself enough. I'm talking about when I look at pictures online. I haven't shot with my camera enough to get a feel for how the colors are compared to, say, my Olympus or natural colors. So we'll see. Hopefully I'll have to get that camera. What am I doing today? I'm going to get my oil changed, and then I have to go to the post office. So I'll take my Fuji out today and take pictures with that while I'm doing those two things. Maybe I'll bring my vlogging camera. I'll just vlog. That's what I did last time, right? I had the tires changed on my car. I did a vlog in 1 hour. Um, I got to get some content on my channel other than these live streams. um, it could be. Like I said, I don't know that much about Fuji. Um, I don't know if that is because of the X-Trans sensor or their color science, because you'd think they'd be able to adjust for that, right? And the Canon. Yeah, I gotta take, like I said, I got a Canon M50 that's got like less than 100 shots on it. This is just sad. I bought that camera for a different reason though, not because I wanted to take pictures with it. Uh, but because I'm gonna ramp up my online, not my online, but my in-person teaching. So a lot of people have Canon cameras, and that's why I bought that, so I could get familiar with the Canon menus and things. Okay, anyway. But the pictures were okay. I didn't notice anything particularly good about the Canon M50 in terms of colors or sharpness. I just have the kit lens. I used to shoot slides with Fujifilm. Yeah, I was watching that guy, Grainy Days, his channel, and he was shooting with Fujifilm, and it had a green cast on the film. So they must have incorporated that into their cameras, right? Color science. That would make more sense to me, but I just don't have enough experience to say firsthand. Um, Opinion on focus guide, not the Canon has. Need that feature for my portrait capture. Seen it on the R. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about Canon to say one thing or another about this. What I'm getting is that the focus guide is not on my M50, but it is on the Canon R. But I'm not familiar with the Canon products at all, so I can't say anything one way or another. And yeah, Narrowband says well known for its greens. So it's not just me, right? When I see it online, in the pictures, it's everybody's saying that. And Fuji versus Olympus, the different color science of play well does help somewhat. Okay. We'll see. I loaded up the Fujifilm RAW converter, whatever that you can download if you have a Fuji camera. And I experimented with some of the color profiles and things there. Not for long. I just tried it out to see what I could see, right? And but when I go out and start actually shooting with it and taking on photo walks, I'll spend a little more time analyzing the photos, and then I can give some better feedback about what I think about Fuji. And Rick's asking, have you spoken with Olympus USA about producing your series of how-to YouTube's videos for release of their... No, I have not. I don't know if anybody I knew over there at Olympus is still there even, because they haven't reached out to me at all since they changed to OM Systems. And OM Systems will release a Pen F2 this year with 24 megapixel sensor. Every viewer will bash it though for being Late, and what's the camera for? Full frame mirrorless is here and better. Yeah, reviewers. You have to take reviews with a grain of salt, though. Which obviously you do. You don't put much stake in, because honestly, I mean, I would argue that a lot of micro four thirds shooters were full frame shooters at one point or another, or shoot both concurrently. You know, I mean, everybody knows the difference between large sensor, small. Not everybody, but I'm just saying, experienced photographers will shoot anything, and whatever they're shooting with, they know the limitations of that system, and they'll shoot within those limitations, right? And it, you know, the micro four thirds is, you know, the limits are well beyond what I'm capable of anyway. It's like me driving, you know, I got a Mazda, but if I went out and bought a Ferrari, it's not like I'm going to be, it's not like I'm going to be driving any faster or any better, right? Just because I have a Ferrari. That car is well beyond my limits of my capability to drive anyway. And I don't think, you know, anything in life, cameras, whatever it is, most things are more capable than the person is able, you know, a person is rarely able to achieve 100% of everything their camera can do. Nor need to, right? There's a lot of things in the Olympus camera that I've done tutorials on, but I really never use myself. I rarely use focus stacking or handheld high-res shot mode, or, you know, any of these things. I just go out and I take pictures, simple aperture priority, adjust exposure comp, and focus on the composition, the story, you know, the image itself, rather than all these different capabilities. Now, when you need to do things, yeah, these features make things a lot easier, right? Like handheld high-res shot mode, like Randy was saying earlier, it's great for reducing noise, because it stacks the images for you in camera, rather than having to do stacking in software. So it helps reduce noise in low light situations. And you know, the one thing I do rely on a lot actually is the IBIS. I still try to keep my shutter speeds up when I can, but you know, when I'm shooting at night, I can get down to 1/20th of a second handheld. Maybe lower if I'm concentrating and get the shot at a lower ISO, which I could never do in a camera without IBIS. There would just be motion blur and shake everywhere. So I've had to shoot very differently when I'm shooting with film or cameras that don't have IBIS. Like this Fujifilm X-T-30 now has no IBIS. There's no IBIS in the lens. The sensor doesn't have let me rephrase. I'm mixing terms. There's no stabilization in the lens. Certainly no IBIS, but there's no stabilization. And then the sensor doesn't have stabilization either. So there's no IBIS, right? So this, if I'm at 35 millimeters, it's a 50 millimeter equivalent. So I set the shutter speed minimum to like 1/100th of a second when I'm shooting this, because I know myself that if I'm shooting at less than 1/100th of a second with this focal length, I'm going to get motion blur in my images more often than not. Not every shot, but more often than not. Because I'm very opportunistic type photographer. If I see something, I take a picture of it. Versus, you know, I rarely plan things, and I should. I should go out with a plan. Say, I'm going to go out and take a picture of this particular object, and I'm going to use this camera and this lens. You know, like really plan out ahead. I'm going to go at this time of day, and try and do everything right. Even when you plan everything, sometimes things don't work out. But if things do work out, you know, I'll get that epic picture, right? That epic image. So I need to do that one day. Problem is, I told you, I was complaining last week about just there's nothing around here but trees and brush. You know, I keep watching these guys, you know, in England, UK photographers going everywhere, and they got these gorgeous trees. I mean, like even the oak trees there are beautiful. I got an oak tree in the backyard. It doesn't look like the oak trees you have in the UK. Man, those trees you have over there are just amazing. Um, but anyway, I have to give some thought about planning something to get the perfect shot, that epic image, at least once. At least once, just have a picture that I can look at and say, man, that is epic. I'm so proud of this image. But I've been shooting what, since 2012, 2013. I don't have one picture that I think is epic, that I could say, man, that's an awesome shot. Not one. Ugh. Any upcoming live edits? I don't know. I guess I could do on Thursday. I'm having a little trouble with my Photolab 5 right now. No, I don't think it would affect my live edits, but for my... Oh, hold on. Hello? Yes, hi. Oh, I'm doing well, thanks. Yourself? Yeah, that's fine. It's a little rough out there. Let's do maybe, how about, I mean, is tomorrow an option, or do you think things will be back on track tomorrow? I mean, if not, no, Thursday I'm booked, but I think, can we do, let me see if I'm there, 10:30, 11. Can we do maybe 12 tomorrow? Okay. All right. I appreciate the call. We'll see you tomorrow. Okay. Bye-bye. You too. Bye-bye. Okay. Because of the snow, they're not going to do my oil change today. So I'm going to have to do it tomorrow. So that means I can stay on the stream all day if I need to. Thursday, look at my calendar. Yeah, I'll book it tonight. I'll put it on tonight for Thursday. New job offer. No new job. I'm supposed to, that's the problem, is I'm expecting 2 jobs this week. 2 photo jobs this week. That's why I'm a little bit anxious about setting up another live stream, because I'd have to cancel it if these jobs come. So does oil even flow? It's not that cold. But I'm slightly overdue. I'm slightly overdue for an oil change. They told me to come back at 5,000 miles, but it's been 7,000, which is the alternative schedule for Mazda. If you're not like driving in dusty conditions, supposedly you can go 7,000 miles. So that's why I didn't rush back, but I really should have done it at 5. I really should do it at 3,000 miles. Some people say that's too much, but 5,000, I think, is a good compromise between the recommended interval that Mazda has in their manual versus the 3,000 miles that Jiffy Lube tells you. So I said, okay, how about 5? 5 is the alternative. I guess the question came up about image stabilization for birds in flight and aviation. And yeah, generally speaking, yeah, it's best not to have image stabilization on. Your shutter speeds should be pretty fast anyway, 1/1000th, 1/2000th of a second when you're shooting fast moving objects. So IBIS is almost irrelevant anyway, right? But it is good practice to turn it off as far as I know. But I don't do enough of that kind of photography myself to tell you one way or the other firsthand. I just know it's best practice to turn off IBIS anyway for those types of things. Am I going to grow a bushy beard? No. Why would I do that? I'm not a beard guy. A Mazda SUV? I don't know. I have no idea. The new ones are supposedly very good. The Mazda CX-5. I mean, I've had it because they're all the same now. Whether you buy the SUV or the sedan, it's the same engine, same suspension, same transmission. Everything's the same. All the electronics. It's just they make it bigger or smaller, right? And I think that's true for a lot of car manufacturers. But I have like 64,000 miles on my Mazda, and not one problem. I can't say that about any other car I've owned. My German cars, my Jaguar, my BMW, the Mercedes. I had a lot of nice cars in the past. Every single one was in the shop for some warranty repair all the time. And I just, I got so sick of it after my last two Volkswagens. Both had major problems. And they didn't have like 60,000 miles on them, and they both had major problems. I said, I'm just going to buy a Japanese car. So I bought a Mazda because for a lot of different reasons, but I bought the Mazda because at the time it was rated pretty reliable, not like a Toyota, but it was a lot cheaper at the time. And I have no regrets. The thing has been rock solid. And that's just been my experience. Lots of people own any make or brand of car, and they have great, they don't have any problems with theirs, right? Whether it's German or British or whatever, they don't have any problems. But my experience has not been the same. Both my VWs, major problems: intercooler, fuel injection pump, timing chain. I mean, these are all critical engine failure type problems that you have to replace the motor, not like, put on a new part kind of thing, but like major expense type problems. And then my Jaguar had an oil leak that they had to take the engine out to fix the oil leak. I was like, seriously, like major expense. And then my BMW had a cooling problem. It was the V12. It had I don't know, some kind of problem with the engine. Oh my God. Anyway, so every time I've had like any other brand of car, major problems, like engine failure type problems. But my Mazda, not a problem at all. The only car I really never had problems with was my old Beetle. It was like a 70, the original Beetles where the engine was in the back. That car was awesome. I wish I still had it. But it was a 70 something Beetle. I think a 73 or 74. It is green, ugly as all, but it was great. I love that car. All right, Ben, we'll talk to you later. Yeah, your Volvo, man. I know a guy. He only buys Volvos. He had his one Volvo for like 20 years, just like you, and then bought another Volvo after that. And there was nothing wrong with the 20-year-old one. It was just 20 years old, so he wanted a new one. Ooh, an 87 Rover. I mean, there's some cars that that you buy and you don't care what problems it has. They're pretty well known and can be fixed, right? It's like I don't know anything about Land Rovers, but a lot of cars that are just classics that you buy into knowing that it's going to have these kind of problems, and you fix them, and you buy it with that in mind. So a lot of times you can buy these older cars for much less than they cost new, right? They depreciated so much. But that's because you have to build in the price of whatever you're going to fix, right? But then you fix that and you're fine, right? You had a 73 Beetle with no heater. Yeah. $300 300-pound bill to replace a 12-piece screw wash filter on a Rover. Wow. They had to take the car apart to access after forgetting to change the filter once. Yeah. Yeah, the Jaguar. Yeah, I had an XJS V12 Jag. I love that car. I loved it until the oil leak, and that was rough. I used to be scared to death of the heaters in my Beetles because the heater was coming from the engine. So I was like, man, is this am I just breathing in all the fumes from the heat exchangers in the engine, or am I just getting normal airflow heat? I just didn't know. I never knew. And the heaters, there were just two little vents on the floors, right? So your ankles and stuff would be, singed, and then the rest of the car would just be barely warm. But still, I love that Beetle. Ooh, a 440. Had to remove the left front tire to get it the last. Oh my God, that's amazing. Yeah, they're my like an oddity of my Jeep Grand Cherokee. It's an older one, but it has two spark plugs for every cylinder. So I got 16 spark plugs in an 8-cylinder engine, and it's about time to get them chained, because they're 25,000 mile service life on those. Supposedly you can't replace them with the platinum plugs or any of the fancy stuff that lasts 100,000 miles. You always have to replace them with the copper spark plugs, and those have to be done every 25,000 miles. So I'm about 3,000 or 4,000 miles over the recommendation. Every year I said, I'll do it next year, because it's so expensive. I got quoted like $800 to change the spark plugs. I was like, oh my God, $800 to change spark plugs? I mean, I'm thinking, I just get a torque wrench, and do it myself. Oh, anyway, um, let me wrap it up on some I guess photography related news. I'm going to be hosting another Micro Four Thirds online summit, like I've been doing every year. This will be our fourth one, I think. And I'm going to have the usual suspects back, Peter and Jimmy and Robin and Maddie and Joe, who joined us last year. But also I'm going to have Ben from Narrowband Channel come on. So 6 guests plus me, it'll be 7. So I'm hoping that all works out technically. Every year I take a chance, right? But somehow it all works out. So look for that. That's going to be at the end of the month. I believe January 30th is our target date. That should be it, but I'll post the video up once it's final. So that'll be a lot of fun. And we're going to talk about, Micro Four Thirds, of course, right? And let's see, I have a lens review I have to do, the 23 millimeter TT Artisans f1.4. I really like it so far. It's very sharp. When you do lens reviews, right, you have to talk about sharpness. But I'll try and look at some other things. And let's see. Those are the 2 main things. Look forward to the end of the month. I'll be talking about it more once things get more finalized. But if you guys have any thoughts about what we should talk about, feel free to send me an email, rob@robtrek.com. If you have any suggestions on what topics you'd like us to see us cover. I mean, I have some general ideas already set up, and I'm going to send that out as a draft to everyone. But I'd love to hear your feedback as well. So if you can do that for me, that would be great. But otherwise, thanks for joining me today. I will see you guys again next week on Tuesday and possibly this Thursday. But I might have to cancel it if that photo job comes in. I'll do a photo editing session on Thursday. But either way, thanks for joining me today, and I hope to see you guys again soon. I'm going to try this outro thing one more time. Where is it? Oh, these are all terrible. How about this one? Okay, guys, thanks again. I'm going to try this.